Hello, my friends. It's me, Kirsten, and this is the It's Giving Mystical podcast. Today, we have something super cool. This is a conversation between my cousin Madi and I, my brilliant, brilliant cousin Madi, who you all know as Madi Murphy or Cosmic RX or Cosmic RX Radio. She has an amazing podcast on astrology and incredible community that she's built that is this beautiful combination of deep soul work and playful, luminescent joy. And I think that if you don't already know her work, you should go check it out. She is releasing her first book in July in the Cosmic Zone, and I know it will be her signature combination of wisdom and playfulness and creativity and liberation. And so I hope you also check that out. The reason that Madi and I had this conversation today, though, was because Madi introduced me to Stephen, who runs the Pampamesayok Shaman School that I'll be hosting in New Jersey starting in September. We'll have our first intensive weekend in September. So the class communication will start in August, but the first intensive won't be until the end of September. And Madi introduced me to Stephen. So it was a few years back. I think she says the dates here, but maybe like 2017, 2018. She joined Stephen down in Nashville on a beautiful property run by our friends John and Dennis, where she walked the medicine wheel with Stephen. And she told me, you have to go do this. And I said, why? And she said, I can't explain it, but you have to trust me and go. And I trust her without question. So when the time was right, I also went down to Nashville and had that experience with Stephen over the course of 18 months with John and Dennis and with my IU, who is a group of women that I absolutely adore and who mean the world to me. And we walked the medicine wheel together, that 18-month cycle, until we found ourselves together at the center. And I wanted to talk to Madi, wanted to have this conversation with her because I think she was my initiation into this work and my invitation, my portal into this work. And I wanted you to hear her story and what it's meant for her, what this medicine has meant for her in her life, and what this lineage means to her in her work, but also just in her humanity. And I love to talk to her. I'm always happy to talk to her. So this is a conversation we had about Shaman School, about Stephen, about what it's meant to us, about what it continues to mean to us in our lives. And maybe it is the invitation you need to take the step towards your higher self, the step towards your future. In shamanism, you may have heard the idea of a soul retrieval. You may have heard this idea that you can go back across time and space and connect with parts of you who felt abandoned or left behind or felt like the world was too much. And part of the work you do in shamanic energy medicine is to go and reconnect with that, those parts of you, those younger parts of you. We call that soul retrieval. Something people don't talk about as much is something called destiny retrieval, meaning that if the field, the luminescent grid that we operate within exists beyond time and space, as easily as you can reach backwards and connect with your younger self, you maybe a more scattered version of you, you can also reach forward into wholeness. You can reach forward across destiny lines and say, hey, you, future me, perceived future me, who has stepped into the highest timeline, can you call back to me? Can you connect to me? Can you let me feel you? Can you let me move towards my own destiny? And that's something that has been coming up for me a lot, thinking a lot about my future self and the dialoguing that's happening, not just back through time, but into the future, dreaming a new world into being, which is something else we say on this path. So I gave you this conversation, and I wonder if it has anything to do with your destiny retrieval. I wonder if there's some part of you that will hear this call, hear this conversation, and maybe want to learn more. And like I always say, I hope you come study with me and Stephen in September at Salt House. But even if you don't, if this is the first time you're hearing about this or the third time you're hearing about this, and eventually it takes you into the right doorway, takes you onto the right pathway, then that is good enough for me. So please enjoy this conversation with my beautiful, brilliant cousin and our conversations about Shaman School. Check out her book In the Cosmic Zone. Check out her community if you're not already familiar with it. I hope you enjoy it every bit as much as I did. Bye. First of all, I love you. I'm so happy to be here with you. It's a blessing for me to just sit in space with you always. And I immediately feel emotional. I just really feel our mothers here with us. Sorry. Not very professional.
No, we're always,
But I feel it
tears are
so
always part
strongly.
of the podcast. Me too.
Yeah, I feel it so
I felt that all
strongly.
morning.
And we talk about this a lot, but the brave souls that our mothers were and the trailblazers that our mothers were in the way of honoring the earth and honoring their spiritual path and honoring their calling.
Yes.
And walking in a way that was true to their medicine and their gifts and the courage with which they like move through the world. Just like really feeling that here, feeling that we'll talk about it, but the lineage that our teacher Stephen carries, he's a lineage holder of this path. Before we started, when you were just invoking the ancestors and the directions and saying that prayer, I could just really feel, I remember very clearly when we first started talking about shaman school, having a little bit of a thing on my shoulder, like, I don't know, like, I'm not a shaman. That doesn't resonate. That feels a little bit like appropriation. And what are you talking about? And I remember like saying that to Stephen in one of our first conversations and him saying, what we're trying to do is create the energy of keeping this earth, of protecting and loving this earth. And we're here to infuse our energy, marry and dance our energy with the energy of the earth and the energy of the stars and the energy of the trees and the wind and the animals and all the other humans. And that's what's wanted from the medicine. He's like, so call it what you will. He's talk about it how you want. But it's, are you ready to take on the responsibility of being an earth keeper? And I was like, oh yeah, that, like that I can get behind. No confusion for me in that. Okay, so I feel all that. So I just wanted to say that. And really, I'm so glad to be here with you to talk about this. And you were my gateway to shaman school. I never would have found it without you. You were my teacher in that way and my way shower in that way. And so I just really want to honor you, honor Stephen, honor the medicine by speaking about it as clearly as possible and as humbly, but also like earnestly as possible, the way that it shifted my life, the way I've seen it impact you. And then importantly, the ways that I know it's changing, or not changing, grounding us into our medicine and our strength in a way that I know is changing the trajectory of our children's lives and of our people we work with's lives and our community's lives. And the power of that is like this kind of soft, subtle, earth-shaking power. And I just want to, anyone, like I want to
anyone, if this sounds like something that sounds good for you, it's so true. We talked about before we clicked record. I was like, this is gonna be really hard for me. And it's the most beautiful, like I could talk about shaman school all day, but also hard to articulate what really happens, right? When you go through this initiation. And thank you for trusting me, because you have been my spiritual teacher, you know, since day one, and definitely since my Saturn return, when I started actively like being like, no, but literally WTF is happening. And like, you just would give me like some kind of crumb to hold on to. And then I'd run back to my little East Village apartment and be like, okay, Kirsten gave me this one thing to like meditate on, to chew on. Everything's going to be okay. And then I would get the gas tank go down and empty. I'd see you again. I'd sit at your feet and be like, what are you reading? What are we talking about? And so you helped me like really pull myself out, like one little golden thread at a time, out of a very blowing up bomb in my life. But luckily, like one of the best things I ever did. But like you need those people and those teachers who just take you and it's going to be okay. And I also don't have it all figured out, but I just know a few spiritual truths that are illuminating the path right now. And same with your mom and same with my mom. I've been very lucky to have my like spiritual mentors like baked in through our bloodline. Yeah, totally. But there was this moment that I was okay. And I think a lot of people listening might resonate with this. We were like, okay, but there's something like else that I'm ready for. And it's actually maybe not like, I've read a lot of books. I've done even certain like certifications and attunements. And I just think it's such a personal moment where you're just like, I'm just like ready for this next activation, this next grounding. And like you said, it shifts everything. Like your power, your ability to hold medicine, your connection to something so much bigger than you. And it's so humbling, but it's also so like uplifting all at once. And I thank you for trusting me, because I'm like, you've always been the one who's guided me. And I was like, I don't know. In some ways, I'm like, I feel like Kirsten, she has this, I just pointed out your chart. You have a bajillion planets in Scorpio in the 6th house. Like she knows about the work, the rituals, the devotion. But I remember thinking like, I'm like, I feel like you're ready, but I don't really know how to tell you what's the experience because I don't know how to articulate it. But I was like, just see. And you went and just exactly what my heart knew, but that my mind and my vocabulary were more limited in. I've seen you go through this, and it's an initiation. It just is like you're you, but now you're just like, more grounded in your gifts, like really firm. And I feel shaman school really clears out a lot of the bullshit, like, or anything that might be like entanglements or things that are taking up energy that are not for you. And it just gets you so clear, right?
Totally. Yes. I have so much I could say. I think there's this idea in shamanism and in the initiations that one of the things your teachers do is they plant like a seed. Like all of the initiations are these seeds that are like handed to your field. And then your being takes that seed and creates like the flower, the like medicine, the herbs, whatever needs to come from it. And that's why it's both subtle and undeniable at the same time. And so because I could talk about that forever. Would you talk to me? So I remember you being in shaman school. Can you just remind me of what that path was like for you and how you walked through those doors?
Yes, it was so fun. And I actually just wrote about this in my book. And so when I was like reading, I was like, just spirit is so real. Spirit is so real. If you're listening here, you know that. It's like, but the ways that we find our ways to things are so funny. And talk about that, which is meant for me will not miss me. So I had this, again, been on a path for many years, studying different things, reading things, just in that spiritual hunger mode. Like every workshop I could get to, every podcast I could listen to, soaking it up. And I was starting to do moon circles on my own and Montauk, but everything felt very like disparate and very piecemeal. Kind of, what is this? I don't know what I'm doing, but it's something and I like it. But I was looking for a little bit more something structure, something more grounding. And I, thought I knew it, maybe that was, but then I had my coffee shop in Brooklyn, and one of our amazing, like talented artists had made this beautiful, huge unicorn chalkboard in front. And it was like, come fly high, the unicorn latte. And one day this woman, very chic, very well dressed, comes in and she's like, who's the owner of this place? And what is the deal with this unicorn like latte? What's happening here? And we got a lot of people like that, but there was something very different about her. And she left a business card and a little like pouch of crystals. Because I also used to not tell people I'm like, I don't want to talk to every single person that comes in here. So I'd be like, I was sitting there, I was like, and my like staff was looking at me and I was like, we're not gonna like just. And then she dropped off the crystal pouch and I was kind of like, and so I actually followed her out. And the reason I followed her out is because the night before I had this very vivid dream about ravens, and she was wearing this like scarf that had all like skulls and ravens on it. And I was like, this is so interesting. And I'm just blah, 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 telling her, I'm like, I had a dream about ravens. I thought I'd talk to you. Are you selling something? What are you like? Do you want to sell something in my shop? What's happening? And she's like listening to me, and we're talking with the unicorn latte. And she's like, okay. And this dream, she's like, you really need to go to shaman school. And she's like, I'm part of this school. You really need to go. And same as you, I was like, lady, I'm a lot of things. I am a blonde girl from Long Island. Like, I'm not a shaman. There's a lot of things I'm interested in, but that just felt really, again, either off limits / had no idea what that really even meant. I was just like, I don't do like ayahuasca with people. I was like, I don't know what I even conjured up. I was like, what? But then the thing that is crazy is that actually months before this, I had a dream about my paternal grandfather. And in the dream, he was in a rocking chair in a plaid blanket, and he said the word shaman to me. And my paternal grandfather, a fisherman up in Hunts Point, New York City, like this guy, not Mr.
Thinking about shaman.
Not thinking about shaman. So I was like, why did my paternal grandpa, like John Murphy, tell me about shaman? Then I was like, should I go on a retreat? Like I looked up stuff, but it was either like so expensive, just out of my realm of possibility. And luckily, this woman, this chic woman with the crystals and the business card, she came to my shop again. She's like, you have to go. You have to go. And I was like, I can't. I'm running these two businesses. I'm too busy. I have no money. I can't do this. I don't know what this is. Like, and then we went on a journey with the Starbucks ordeal, and we ended up going to court with them. We sued them. We didn't get the money, but we did get a little settlement of something as its own like long epic karmic battle for me. It was very spiritual. And by the end of it, like after we paid like the mediator and the this and the that, the amount that I got to walk away with was to the dollar what Shaman School was.
Yes. Sounds about right.
So I was like, okay,
Yes.
spirit. This is undeniable because I kept praying, right? I was like, if
Yeah.
I'm meant to walk through a door, don't just make it a little door, like blast this thing wide open because
So
I am
obviously.
so dense. I am so dense as a human. Make it obvious. And then, of
I know
course,
you're
like
dense, but you were living like 8 lives at once during
8
that
lives
time
at
in your life.
once, right?
Yeah.
Running all these businesses, doing a million things,
Yes.
so scattered. And so I was like, okay, I got that check. And I was like, all right, Stephen, here we go. What is the thing? I have no idea. And I doubted every part of this till like I got there, off the plane. I'm there by myself. I'm like, what am I doing? Should I just turn around? I felt so out of place, out of sorts until was introduced to the man who was from was previous shaman class, had been hosting us on his property, and he was selling all these beautiful, gorgeous wares on behalf of some people that he had met in Peru. And I was like, this is great. I love this. Thanks for having us here. He's yeah, take my business card, hit me up anytime, enjoy like your weekend, your training. It's gonna change your life. It's the best thing I ever did for myself. And his name, John Murphy. So I was like, classic. All right, Grandpa, I see you. I don't know, you are up to something. And then it just took me on a journey and I never looked back. After I saw that John Murphy on the business card, I was like, I'm in the exact right place. And from there, it was just the best feeling of, I kept telling my now husband, I was like, I feel like I'm like coming home. Like, I feel like I've been here before. This feels so like familiar but new, and it just felt so right. And then it just like completely changed my very being from the inside and out. But it was such, and as anyone who's listening might know, there's just those moments where spirit's like, I'm gonna get you there. I don't like you're being so in my head about it. But like the soul was like, no, you're meant to be here. And I'm so grateful, like every single day of my life. That's how obvious it was, because I really measure my life pre-shaman school and post-shaman school.
Totally, 100%. And shout out to John Murphy, who's still involved with Shaman School down in Nashville, and him and his partner Dennis have built. They are like partially, you and them are my kind of like Shaman School lighthouses, because I'm seeing the way the medicine keeps unfolding in your lives like 2 or 3 years in front of me. And I admire you, obviously adore and admire you. And I'm so proud of you. And then I also look at John and Dennis and I'm like, whatever they've got going on, I want that in my life. Like, I love them. Exactly. They're incredible people.
Incredible. And just living, right? Like this full, vibrant, brilliant expression of themselves while being of service, while having fun, and that's, I think what's really cool is the people. And I had felt that way about my teacher. I was like, at the time, Colleen McCann was co-teaching with Stephen, and I didn't know Stephen because he had a very elusive internet presence. But Colleen, I followed her on social media, and I remember being like, whatever this woman is working with, I like it. I want it. I want to try some more of it.
Totally. And I think that Stephen is our teacher who runs the Shaman School that we're referring to. And he is not found on the internet broadly. I actually would probably credit him with that. Like, it's because he's actually doing the work. He's actually
like the biggest green flag of all time.
100%.
Like he's who I want to be. Like, I'm like, I would love to just, as much as I love all of this and all of you, like one day, like catch me some smoke in the woods, like how you find. And I've always joked that's how I want to be. And Stephen is that. And he's just.
I say, like, when I try to describe him, I'm like, it's literally, sometimes he reminds me of a tree come to life. Like, I don't know how to explain. Like, there's something so clean and pure and like earthy about him, and so generous about him. And anyways, we could talk about him forever. Okay, so I love that. And I will tell you that my experience was, I saw you go through this. I saw the moment, and you have always been, you are hard on yourself the way you speak to yourself. You're not as scattered and dense as you would make yourself appear.
Now I feel a little better, but that time, Kirsten,
time. But like, you were doing so much. You were doing so much. And you were like, you were really in it with your whole heart, Madi. Like, you were really trying to build things and make things and create like a life for yourself. And you were in it with your whole heart. And there's nothing but like beauty in that from my perspective. And then watching you go through it. And honestly, what got me was I was craving more ritual and ceremony in my life. And intuitively, I had been studying for a long time. I'd studied with beautiful teachers. My practice felt solid. Like I felt like I knew what was happening in my body. I knew where my work was. I knew what my daily practice and like intentionality was. My children were they were younger, so they were very much the focus of my life. My marriage was ending, I think, around the same time, maybe before that. So I knew where I needed to be. But because I have this Taurus rising, because I have this kind of interest in the world, right? Like the things I can touch, this idea of having more structure and more clarity around how to really embrace and feed the part of my soul that really was craving like ritual, ceremony. And also, I think I did it post-COVID, right? So Salt House my retreat space had gone through its own evolution. My two partners who were like my heart sisters, the two women I loved working with, their lives had changed because of COVID. We were doing a lot of stuff online. We started to bring it back into the real world. And I wanted it to take on a weight. I wanted the ceremony and the ritual to have, maybe what I was craving was the lineage that we step into, right? I wanted not just what's coming from Kirsten, but what's coming from the medicine, the teachers that Kirsten is trying to bring into your life, right? That she's trying to bring into the space. And I remember you sent me like photos and you guys were dressed up and there was like mandalas on the floor. And I was like, where are you going to make 5 mandalas and dress up? Because I'm in. Send me there. And it took me a couple of years. Like I couldn't quite align with the classes. Maybe COVID was involved, something like that. Time is so confusing. I'm like, what happened? When did I do this? But you kept saying to me, you're going to go. You're going to know when you know. You're going to go. You're going to love Stephen. I had also had at that time some disillusionment with male teachers. So I had some male teachers that had not been as clean or as an integrity as I imagined that they would be. So getting to know them as more human, which is part of the journey, and that's all cool. But I was like, I had a question, like, are there men I can learn from that can be more devoted to the path than they are to their humanity? Or what is that like? And that's a big question. And I didn't answer that at all. But what Stephen restored in me was the understanding that I could learn from and trust a man with my spiritual heart and my spiritual journey in a way that felt incredibly clean and like flawlessly clean, like flawlessly in integrity.
Yeah.
And that was something I needed to trust again from like a male teacher. And then John was also co-teaching with him at the time. So between John and Stephen, I had these two men show up in my life who just were so trustable. And so trustable in this field, which is not always the case.
Because you come in, it's like anything that's not clean, come into a spiritual space will get so amplified by the ego. We all know, like we've met a spiritual teacher you love and you put them on a pedestal, especially if you're new, if you're a baby on the spiritual path. So of course, an ego that's not completely clear sees that reflected and it gets amplified and it gets really distorted really fast. So you could tell Stephen, again, just like we're talking about the people whose work carries the receipts for this.
Yes.
Stephen being so clear, like he really walks the walk. And I credit so much like of my healthy male relationships in my life. He restored something in me about the holder of a sacred masculine energy. Like he expanded for me that's possible, that like someone can be, and I had like beautiful men in my life, and but I think I have been holding on to something very subconscious about men, seeing him. And I always joke that if you're lucky enough to be loved by a Libra, you're lucky enough. Obviously I'm married to one. I have lots of Libras in my life that I love. And I do think Stephen is another beautiful Libra, true like wizard of like just holding that tree energy. He is a tree. He's like a tree, has no ego. A tree is just, let me hold you. Do you need some shade? Do you need to be rooted in my branches? Do you need some fruit? What do you need? Like, I'm here for it. And he's also playful and fun and doesn't take himself too seriously.
Fundamentally curious, like about like never not thrilled to be there, like never not that's so interesting, not I know the answer, not this is what it is, but tell me more, what's that like? That relentless but like joyful, playful curiosity can take things that are incredibly heavy. We both know from like you do a lot of excavation, you're doing excavation in shaman school, that's yours, and you're also doing it for your lineage, your ancestors. your historical like movements through the earth. And that's heavy. But Stephen, like this, again, this playful, joyful curiosity he brings to it. Yeah, just this kind of, I guess, that poof energy, that like just lightness that he brings to it. That's such a gift.
He is really a testament to you can be that light in area because you've gone deep down, and he can really like traverse both. And I think what I loved about it, as someone who is, I am very spiritual, obviously I am deep, I am powerful, but I am always going to be a little goofy, a little messy. I'm never going to be the person who's, I just remember I'm sorry, this might be TMI, but I remember our first ritual, they gave us all of this like vegan food at the time. I don't know how it was when you went, but they were like very into all vegan food. It was like no caffeine. I think since then they might have changed things a little bit, but I was like, okay. And there was another beautiful woman there helping, and Sia, and she was like, has all eating. There's like kale and like beans and all stuff. And we're like sitting in our first ceremony, and I'm like, I just have to fart so badly. Like this is like literally one of the most sacred initiatory ceremonies I've ever been involved in. I can't even talk about it because it's not even meant to be shared by human like words, but I was just like truly, but I also had this thing like of being a human when you're also like having this really human thought of, am I going to rip ass in the middle of the sacred ceremony? And I remember like, oh man, this is why you're not even meant to be here. No one else is. This is not, everyone else is just in the moment, right? Everyone else is here. And then the next day, of course, me being me, I like had to say it to Steven because like I can't hold anything back. I was like, that was great, but like I had my tummy. And of course, he's, oh, good. Like your stomach was speaking to us. It was like right there, just releasing some old energy and whatever he said. And he laughed and he's, tell me more about that. And he's, okay. And this, that. And he was so sweet and so playful. And like, we just made this like big joke of it. And he always called me the unicorn girl. And he's like, maybe that's like your unicorns talking to you. And I was like, oh my God, thank you for just letting me be me. And I think that is so part of that nurturing of the seed that we talked about.
Yeah.
And he always says, I'm not here to turn you into some cookie cutter version of what you think a shaman is. And I don't like reference myself as that all the time. Rather to you, they don't go forward as a label. It's more of a path that you're walking, the lineage. And he said, I'm here to really just bring up the next generation of like self-referencing shamans. We're more self-referencing more than, and he's also, and he designed this shaman school because I had looked after the dream with my grandpa, I had looked up like the four winds and things. And one, it felt a little bit like not right for me. And it also felt like it was like 4 to 6 weeks in like Peru, the jungle. And I was like, I just can't, that's not my life. I have businesses, I have obligations. And he said that he designed this school with doing these weekends and then integrating and then doing a weekend and integrating so more people could like integrate this medicine. It could be available to more people. He's like, so what we need right now is like shamans that don't look one way or speak one way, that are in all different walks of life and bringing it in. And I remember when he told us that, it gave me like such that, and being okay with like my gassy tummy was just like this like unclenching of, okay, I don't have to be this like Virgo perfect A student of I am being the best, most holy presenting shaman. This was 2017 too. There was as many conversations on the internet about just that's different. Not even what we want anymore. Right? Like that's not even good. Like and so I just give Stephen so much credit with, again, the medicine is so powerful, but I see why he was like chosen to be like the keeper of this for people like us, because I think I would have been so ready at a moment's notice, like the one hearing something like I can't be myself, or I can't talk about being gassy, or I think I even wore like a gold lame unitard to one of our like crazy ceremonies because I had been dressed up that day as like my higher self. And then all of a sudden I was like, I can't believe I'm in this ancient ceremony wearing like gold lame. And he was like, that's so you. I love this. We love this for you. I think that's so important in the work that he does. It's not like you don't have to be or present, you don't have to change anything about yourself on the outside. It's like taking this, integrating it, and like just becoming this more grounded version of you that's like way more clear and it has this whole lineage at your back and like endless possibilities in front of you. Right?
Totally. Yeah. And I think that's so important so just one thing to say about this is I think Stephen was also the only person that Alberto Viola, am I saying his name right, gave permission for this curriculum to be taught outside of the four winds. So Stephen, we talk about him like he's he is so good at what he does. He is so
Yes.
deeply practiced, and he has an incredible like wind at his back to do this in the way that he's called to do it, which partially also includes more intimate groups. Like I think they do like hundreds of people at once, and he was like, no, I really wanted to come back to these smaller groups. And that comes to the point of what you just said, having this lineage at your back, having this line that you step towards. It can't be understated how much I lean on that. Like it can't be understated how when I am stuck, when I am lost, like the people I call on are the directions. So I call on the medicine of the directions. I call on the medicine of my mesa, which we can talk a little bit more, but it's like your prayer bundle, your like moving altar. Stephen talks about it as your heart that exists outside of your body. It's this incredibly powerful medicine bundle that you create in your time in Shaman School. It's really hard to explain the energetic charge it holds if you haven't experienced it, but it is like an ally and like your most trustable ally. And then on top of that, my IU, which is the group of women, mine was all women, the group of women that I traveled through Shaman School with, these people will see you in ways that you really can't even see yourself, and they will have a compassion and a heart, and they're in it with you for the ride. And so when you come to these points where you're like, I'm stuck, or I'm sad, or I'm lost, or I'm confused, or anything that comes up, those are the people that I will shoot a text to and be like, remind me, help me. And we are very lucky. We come from a family that we have a lot of support. We've got a really big team, as we say, and we're both blessed with amazing communities. But I will tell you, like, when I am really on my knees, the people I turn to, like God, I turn to my medicine bundle, I turn to the direction, I turn to my IU. And like when I'm at my most vulnerable, and because there's something about witnessing each other on that path, it's like you forge something deep with them. I don't know how else to really.
I'm so happy you said that. No, it's two things that you've said that I just really want to touch on. If your soul is craving it, it's for a reason. One of them is, like you said, ritual and the things that ground us, and the physical representation of your spiritual tools or spiritual support, whether that's learning so many different rituals.
And confidence in what you said, the self-referencing. So bringing yourself to ritual, right? Sorry to interrupt, but I want to say that.
No, but the confidence and your mesa and working with this and everything from the altar building to working with stone, so many things. It just felt so important for me. Is again, I have a lot of sixth house energy like you, so ritual is very important to me. My Virgo, I really crave like the physical embodiment of something. I crave something to interact with, touch, and the framework and the tools and the things that you get that are so incredibly charged from your time there are so potent. But what you said, the IU, the thing that made the difference of, again, it's hard for me to articulate what the medicine does. It's so energetic. It's so ancient. It's so timeless. My husband, I would come home from a weekend and he'd be like, you look different. And
100%. That's
he'd be
real,
like,
by the way.
What do you do there? And I was like, I literally don't know. Like I would come home and be like, I don't know, but I am different now. And you go to some of the darkest, heaviest places, but you also go out to the most like holographic, sparkly places. And the whole ride, you go through it with these people. And at that moment in my life, like I'm blessed with family, community, but I was not feeling confident in coming forward and being like, this is whatever I want to be. I kept getting these readings or having this feeling of you're meant to step out into some sort of different, our very Taurus, persistent grandmother was coming through in all these readings and be like, you got to gather the women, you got to gather people, you got to gather. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know how to like, and it just gave me such the vulnerability and the visibility in this IU of walking this path with people. It's a mixture of the best friends you ever had at camp, where you're like, our bond is like so deep because we're in these things all day, in and out together, but also this feeling of a soul family. This was by design that we picked to be here, and we are witnessing each other in these very vulnerable or very like surreal, kind of like life-changing moments. And so they're the ones like now, like I always say, like the IU, like I was like crying our last day. Like I remember being, and we had this like huge group chat and we check in, but even mine was, we ended in 20, this is a funny other, we ended like 2019. And Steven's, so guys, by the way, things are about to get really crazy out there. And I was like, so I need you all to like really stay in touch and have each other's back and like birth this new world together. And we're like, okay, sure. And then I'm like, okay, I get it. I see you, Stephen. But that Ayu are some of my, godmother to Jordy from the Ayu, like my deepest friend, the people that I turn to, especially when I need that space held for me of like, I'm going through something, motherhood, the loss of my mother. I just don't know what's going on in the world, what's happening out there. What are we doing like in this collective energy? And my Ayu, I'm just so grateful for them. And since then we've done rituals and things that have blown my mind. Like the fact that I can just gather with them and we can just plug into something and that confidence of they see me and they know me as this. So I can go out in the world and do this because like I've already been witnessed by these people that I really trust. It's another family. And if I think that is like, I understand your spiritual path is that of like, it's yours to do, but I think it really activates and strengthens and goes so much deeper when you can then be in that like circle and
absolutely
be witnessed and witness other people on theirs. Right.
Absolutely. And I remember walking in and I my Scorpio confidence that comes and goes. But I like walked into that room and I was like, I'm a teacher. Like I'm practiced. I understand this. Like I'm here to like learn, but I didn't understand. I really didn't know why I was there, Maddie. I was like, Maddie said to come. I like mandalas. Let's hang out. I didn't know what was going on. And I remember sitting in the room and like having a little bit of not like arrogance, but like confidence. Like I know what I'm doing. Like I can talk this talk. I know how to be in the space. And like looking around the room and there were people walking in there who were like literally just, I guess you would say, coming out of the spiritual closet. Back home, no one even knew they cared about this. They didn't, they felt like channeling was maybe something they wanted to do, but couldn't quite touch it. Like all kinds of things were happening up. And I remember being like, that's different. Like we're not the same. And then we did the first practice where we open our Wiracocha and we put it over each other. And I remember one of the women who was most like, I don't know if I should be here. And she wrapped me in her Wiracocha. And I felt like this cold breeze, but like a beautiful cold breeze run through my body. And I was like, girl, you are so meant to be here. I was like, what are you talking about? Teach me. What is that? And so that's so interesting. Like you can walk in there being like, why am I here? Don't even belong. You can walk in there being like, why am I here? But I'm also a teacher. You can walk into these rooms and like you said, you're called together with that group of people for a very specific reason. And you are mirroring each other in your growth and in your like, I don't know, witnessing the medicine bloom in them. And I think that's an important thing. Like you do carry the medicine of the lineage, but really what Stephen talks about is this idea that like we all have, I think about it as like a song that we're here to sing. Like we all come here with a very specific song that like the universe is bereft without hearing yours. Like you're the only one who can sing the song that way. And I think that what happens in these initiations, in these like integrations, is you begin to hear your song more clearly and believe in its beauty, believe in its purpose, its beauty, its worth. And so to witness, to feel that in yourself is beautiful, but then to witness that in these other women, for me, I keep saying all women because mine was all women. It's not always the case, but to witness that in these other women was like life-giving, like water on a dry day. It just like fed something in me that was just, I'm so grateful for it.
I'm so grateful. When you were first talking about it, my eyes were welling up with tears of just how grateful I am for, that Ayu, obviously like Stephen, the lineage, the things you're learning, but that Ayu, you just move through the world differently, like after going through this initiation together. And I will say I had men in mind, and that's part of my healing. And we did one of the things, we do the rite of the womb, and we had the 4 men of the group anchoring the space. I could cry just thinking about it, and like, being held by like that masculine energy that wanted nothing but just to hold the energetic space for us was incredibly healing. And I like those men, and we've had so much fun together since then. Like we've had parties and we had a sleepover at this one guy, Rick's house. Shout out to Rick in Tennessee, just one of the coolest. And I was like, I just never, and our IU was a very interesting mixture of ages and industries and everyone. And we had, and so whoever you are, there's no one type of person to go. But like you said, that I love that song analogy. It's exactly how I feel. Like this big tapestry or like a big, like huge concert where everyone is there to bring a beautiful song. And I think when you go, you can hear it, more clearly. Absolutely. That's the perfect way of saying it. And you really appreciate other people's, and you stop. For me, it was like so many things I got out of it, but I just was able to trust myself after. Like, I don't 100%. Have to look like someone else or do something like someone else. I can really play that song like full volume. Totally. And really just that's what I'm here to do. I really trust that.
Yeah. And it feels so good to know that. And I do think that for me, what it feels like is every day that compounds, like the clarity around that compounds. So that's the other beautiful thing is that, so you go in the way that Stephen's school is structured, it's 18 months, and you go the first weekend, it's an integration weekend around the south direction, Maddie? No.
Yes, south.
Yeah, south. Okay.
Serpents.
And then you go through and you do all the work around the serpent energy. Then then you take a break for, I think it's 3 months, and you integrate the work that happens in those 3 months. And you're constantly hearing from Stephen, like there's constant like communication and practices being offered you. You really doesn't talk about, you practice the practices and then he teaches them to you in the time after, which is just a really interesting way to do it, but so powerful. And then you go through each of the 4 directions, and then it's all about the integration. Then you graduate at the end of that. But there's like, I have like my binder. I have work in there, like practice I still haven't done. Like there's work 100%. In there that I could be doing for another 5 years, just FYI. The other important thing to say is that like Madi and I both kind of work in the world of spirituality and teach and all of that. But there are plenty of people in my IU who don't. Like there are women who work in corporate jobs. There's people who do all kinds of other things, who are moms who for a million reasons are there. And so you may do this because you want to teach. You may do this because you want to bring this to the world in some kind of offering around this, but it might also just help you blossom into a more full version of what you already are doing and what you already love. So I just wanted to say that out loud. Yes. It's not like you have to do this. Yes. It's not like you're getting now you have to be a shaman.
You don't have to even, exactly. It's just here to liberate something in you and illuminate something. It's okay. Like just go forth and be that like most luminous being, that like freest being version of you that could impact. Again, like, we had people in ours that were in corporate and fashion, people who were figuring out what they were doing. And like, again, artists. People have heard me talk about, I don't go forward in the world and be like, I'm a shaman. And like, it's very much like a personal practice to me. I do bring it into some of my work with my mentees, or why I'm grateful for it too is I think a lot of people have that heart of service. I have been so grateful to be like, when someone comes to me with something, because I know it's not just me, it's the lineage.
Yes.
If I need Stephen's help years later, I have pinged him and been like, hey, someone's coming to me and I feel a little out of my depths, or can you like hold the space with me or remind me of what is the practice? And he is so right there. And I have my binder of my practices. Sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, there's still so much that I have to, and my forever perpetual student loves that part of it. But it's just, however you want to show up, if it's just more clear, if it's more grounded, if it's more confident, if it's more just alive, then it offers something to you. And I think that's also by design of what we talked about ahead of the call was like, Stephen felt this call to do this, got the permission from Alberto, and was like, this is the time right now. Again, like when I was there in 2017, he's like, okay, something's coming. But I was like, no, stuff has already happened. We've already gone through stuff. And then I was like, oh, I get it. Okay, I get it now. Then I'm like looking at the astrology and I'm like, okay, he really wants us to be like keepers, right, of the earth, good stewards of this earth, and like the doulas and the birthers of this like next different paradigm we can live in. And sometimes that feels really, what does that mean? Or is that daunting? But then I watch at how each of my IU is living and their impact and their ripple effect and just how they show up energetically and regulated and grounded. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's working. It's working. Like 100%. This.
And also the thing, one of the things that I really was a gift is, and I think you can touch on this in work like family constellations, you can touch on this in other places. But what I really felt was like the falling away of all of the skins that I wore that weren't mine, right? It really felt like the falling away. We are our epigenetics, right? Like we do take on these movements and these like, just I guess habitual movements that we've been taught that aren't always in alignment with who we want to be, what we're working on. We can hold some old stuff. And there was a lot of the gifting that I received from that time was to be able to see what wasn't mine and to be able to make peace with it and gift it back to whoever, wherever it came from. And then to have them fully receive it and bless me to be free, bless me to walk the path as Kirsten, like in the way that I need to do it with my own craziness, but it's mine.
It's mine.
So I just think that's another really just important thing to think about. And I do, like you said, like I've said, you can think about this and that's great. And there's obviously information out there, but on Stephen's website, I put a page on my website just to make it really clear. But there is something about answering the call, like hearing this as a call. And I just want to encourage you to, maybe this is the first time you're hearing about it. Maybe you've been thinking about it for a while, but like Madi said, that's a prayer, right? Show me if this is what's meant for me. And make it so obvious. It's so obvious that I can't even let me have the support I need to be able to make this happen. And I think that prayer you won't go astray if you're meant to be there. We're going to host it at Salt Huster. We're hosting it in New Jersey for the first time. So we're going to have it at the Salt Cave, which will be amazing, the land there. The first time I talked to Stephen, he was like, I'm so happy to talk to you because my trees were telling me about your trees. And that sounds crazy, but my trees on my retreat space land are like my besties. And so when he was like my tree, I was like, your trees are talking to my trees? Get out
Kirsten
of
and
here.
I've been talking to her trees and giving me the updates from the trees for like years. And then so when Stephen said that, I was like, oh yeah, he's plugged in.
I was so excited. I was like, I forgot they could talk long distance. I'm so excited. So
yes.
So I just think that's like something to.
It's such a beautiful, especially I know a lot of people who are in our realms or in the tri-state area or something. And so if you're looking for one that's also like a little bit of an easier lift, if that's close, or if it's far, it's a beautiful destination. And I have to say that Kirsten, just her work with this land and her right relationship with this land and what this land offers, like it's what's so cool. It's like layers and like Stephen's gonna do work, the eye is gonna do work, you're gonna do work, this land is gonna hold you. You are going to feel like whenever I'm at South, I feel like a little kid. Like I feel like lit up, like just so excited to play and be there and be in ceremony and be in, like I always walk away with something that's like, and that's even if I go for an afternoon with you to drop something off, or like I forget about being immersed in this medicine. And I think that like it's so special what's going on there, and then to gather there. And I do think that one of my teachers told me that the whole area of New York City, it has like this built on the power grid of crystals and it's amplifying energy, and it's an hour outside the city. And I always think about this area we don't think of New York and New Jersey as like a spiritual portal. I think of the spiritual portal places as like Hawaii, but the way to go. Tri-state area, like the Jersey, New York, Long Island is its own spiritual portal. So it's also like beautiful for just like the land holding you, and whatever, if you have something on your heart, like whether it's healing something in your personal like family story, creating some kind of art in the world, just wanting to show up as some kind of vessel for these times of some sort of positive forward movement. Like it's like, it's so mysterious, Shaman School, and it's so magical. So at some point I literally told my husband, I'm like, I feel like I'm at Hogwarts. Totally. But like the stuff that we're doing is literally like magic is real. And so it's literally, but equally it's hard to articulate like why you might want to go, because it could be for anything. And just really, I love that you broke down to like the going to the sessions, going to the weekends, and then getting that homework and all the integration. I worried. I'm not the person who stayed. I think I had 4,000 unopened emails and didn't get to all of them. And I'm like, is the work working? The work works, honey. Like the work works. Like you just sign up and your guides, your spiritual team, the lineage, your new like medicine keeper wisdom people are like, okay, they're ready. Let's buckle up. Let's go.
Like I'm a nerd. I would do all the exercises, especially the first 3 times. Like I did all the homework and I'd show up and I'd be like, I did all the homework. Like I'm like the worst. And I had people who would come in and they were like, I didn't even look at this since we were, and it doesn't change anything. Like everyone's doing it the way they need to do it. And so that's a whole other conversation. The work works. You are planting seeds.
Yeah, you're planting seeds. And just like a seed, it has its own it has its own divine intelligence. So don't worry about, do I know enough? Can I have enough time, bandwidth? Like Kirsten said, if it's that calling, everything else will fall into place. And like I could cry about just like how grateful I am that I like said yes and trusted, because a lot of times in life I have done the overthinking, or I haven't chosen to invest in myself with like time and money that was just for me. It was something like, what is this doing for my business or people around me? And this was like one of the first things I ever did in my life. Where I was like, okay, I'm going to do this for me. And I don't really understand it, but like it feels really right. And it just, talk about quantum cosmic leap. Like it just brought me into a whole new timeline, frequency, way of being. And in terms of reaching, if someone's interested now and they're like, okay, sign me up, or like, when is it? Do we have details of when it is, and who should they reach out to?
We can put maybe down below like the link to the page on my website, which links to Steven's website, which is a little less, it's a little
just trust like how not glossy it is. Like anyone can have a glossy, and okay, like anyone can go through like ChatGPT, Canva, Squarespace and have a gloss. Okay. Like the fact that Steven is this powerful and successful with, I think when I met him, his website was green on green Comic Sans, and I was like, what the actual hell is happening? So but like that's how good he is. Okay,
I did a web page that was like literally like the dates, the cost,
yes, perfect,
like
perfect,
all the information, so that it's all in one place for people, so you can process it.
Thank you.
So we'll give them that, and then it'll tell you exactly. Reach out to Steven, and he'll talk to you. He'll have a conversation with you. People get intimidated because it'll be like you have to write a little 1-page thing and have a conversation with Steven. You could write like a poem. You could write stream of consciousness. Like he knows when it's time to meet. And so there's not going to be like, the beautiful thing about Shaman, one of the beautiful things is it takes this like undue pressure off our shoulders to be something else, to think that we can show up and it can be wrong, to think there's mistakes, to think like you're too much, healing. Not enough, blah, 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 blah. Like Shaman School, like this medicine, Steven, the world wants you as you are. And this is like a beautiful, like trust fall to be like, this is me. What do you think? And what you'll receive, even if you don't go to Shaman School, you just have a conversation with Steven, what you will receive from that 100%. Is its own, like people would pay money for that. It's like its own gift. It comes back to you so much. He's so cute.
Absolutely. He really is. He's who made me believe in the concept of, or understand the concept of transformation by transmission. Like totally. Just by being in 100%. His presence, because of how much of that work he's done on himself and how clear, like one consultation conversation, I remember it was like something I was like, wow, just in that. Cause I have that, like, I had to heal from a lot of my like Virgo perfectionism, that schooling energy versus wrong, and like having the right supplies and saying the right stuff. And that conversation I had with him, I was like, whoa,
yes,
whatever that is, I'm ready to sit at the feet of that and learn more. And okay, so beautiful. Thank you for creating.
He's so cute. I was like, I did a webpage. He's, I love this. It's the best. But yeah, so that would be great. And I just think, and if it's not today, it's not now with Steven and me and hopefully Madi in New Jersey. Like I know John and Dennis are still running cycles down in Nashville. And I just hear the call and trust the door you want to walk through. I hope you want to walk the door with us, but I also I have no doubt that if you're ready to find this, it's ready to find you. That's a mutual 100%. Conversation.
So well said. 100%. Yes. And just the fact, to be with you and I hope to be there. Just again, like we're gonna have so much fun.
We're gonna have so much. I can't wait to walk through the wheel again. I can't wait to see what happens. And I really admire the life I said that John and Dennis have built, but I admire the life you've built too. And I find deep satisfaction in the life I built. Like in the life I'm building. I don't feel 100%. Complete yet, but I feel like deeply satisfied with what I'm creating.
Gift. Yeah, it's a gift to just love your life in the day-to-day, 100%. In the details, and find even the magic in the things that should seem mundane. And I think that's like such a gift of Shaman School, is like you really enjoy and you're present to your life in every moment. It's not just like these big milestones you're looking forward to. And if you're ready to do that, then this is your call. Pick up, baby.
Yeah. I'll say one last thing. One of my deepest moments in Shaman School was I could go out there. Like I can go out there and I can go so many places so easily in my being. I hadn't really made peace with the gift it was to be in a body. And part of what we went through, there's a specific that you do. And I really understood what a gift it is to be in a body. And there's something about that just brought me home in a way that I'm eternally grateful for. Every day I wake up and I'm like, oh, right here I am. And there's no place I'd rather be. And I fought for that, but I also really credit the medicine for revealing that to me over and over again. If that makes sense.
The gift of a lifetime. So beautiful.
So
what
cool.
a good body it is. And this Taurus rising. Yeah, there's so much Scorpio. Also a Taurus. Enjoy your body. You're here. Look at this beautiful body we gave you. Thank you for this conversation. And wherever you're watching this, we'll have all the information below. And I'll also have my Instagram. If you have a question, slide in my DMs. Could talk about Shaman School all day. And I'm so endlessly grateful for the medicine of it, to Stephen, for all the people who walked this path before. Absolutely. And I just have nothing but like reverence and extreme gratitude for it.
Me too. I feel the same way. Thank you, Maddie, for making me go.
Thank you. Yes, you're welcome. I know. I'm like, I don't force you to do a lot of things, but you need to go. You need to do this right now.
Oh, so good.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. And
I love you, baby.
Wherever you are. I love you so much. I'm so grateful for you. Okay.